Shoot. Oh, how do I take that off? There we go. I think that's how I do it. Oh man, I messed that up again. Anyway, it's Robin. How are you? Ah, the sun glares coming through the back the kitchen window. I pulled those. No, I didn't. Shoot, sorry. Anyway, so today I'm going to stumble through trying to talk to you a little bit about an experiment that I did growing sprouts. And I've talked about this before. I don't think I've shared this particular information with you, but I started looking into sprouts a little while back, and my garden didn't do very well at all. And so I didn't have a lot to put away that I didn't have to buy from the farm market. So again with the clock, I started looking into other ways of kind of trying to beef up the pantry, and I come across the idea of growing sprouts, and I tripped across some videos on that the big monster gigantic online video thing that you may or may not be watching me on now, but I watched several of them, and some of them kind of looked a little sketchy. They were well presented in pristine places and just wonderful people who probably got a gazillion hits and make $1 million off this stuff. But I got the feeling they don't really know. They didn't really do this. They had somebody help them, or there was something, because there was just that feeling that they didn't really know. It's kind of like somebody selling something like, oh, here's some glasses. These glasses are for sale and you should buy them, and you should buy them because I tell you to. You should buy them because they're plastic and because they have bifocals and because there's lots of colors. But all the while they don't have a clue about the glasses. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. So what I started out with, I watched several of these videos and I thought, well, okay, so what's it take to do this? These people who I were watching were talking about half-gallon mason jars with these high dollar lids with fancy stainless steel screen, and um, just beautiful, and look, they all match. And in the real world, most of us don't worry about that. If you're growing sprouts because you need to add some nutritional value to your meals, you need to add some kind of vegetable. I mean, because sprouts, half a cup of sprouts is a good amount of nutrition. Okay, it's just half a cup, but it's still a lot of good nutrition. You can put it in regular vegetable soup and just spice it up a little bit. But anyway, um, so I mean, it was all fancy and nice and pristine and great, and which made me think that's just most people I know aren't going to do it that way, and people I know who might need to do it aren't going to be able to do it that way. So, what are the things that either I already have that I could get at the thrift shop, or that wouldn't cost me an arm and a leg, that I could do this myself? One of the things was you don't have to have a half-gallon mason jar. You don't have to have a half-gallon jar. I recommend you have a glass jar because plastic gets little micro scratches in it, and bad bacteria could grow in those little scratches that you don't even see. Where glass has unless you're scrubbing it with like diamond infused cloth or something, or you're just really trying to gouge it, you're not going to have that kind of scratches in regular glass. So any glass jar that you can put, why? Oh, there we go. It froze up there for a minute. Any glass jar that will hold water, it's not cracked, that you can put, a couple tablespoons, at least to get started, to try and see if you like a couple tablespoons of seeds, mung beans, garbanzos, although I didn't have a lot of luck with garbanzos, peas, um, kale. which I didn't have a lot of luck with kale either. And there's other ones. We can look at them over time, but just this particular video, I did sugar snap peas that I got from the extension office. I did mung bean, which I already had in my cabinet. I did kale, and I did Brussels sprouts. So I had those already here. So that wasn't the problem. Then I needed, well, I had my jars. I already had some mason jars. You don't have to have mason jars. Okay. You can have any jar that you could put cheesecloth over. You could use a coffee filter, I guess, because you're just draining water off. And a rubber band that you can put around the neck to keep the coffee filter or the cheesecloth on the jar. I already have a lot of mason jars, so I already have a lot of the rings. So the rings and the jars, which I just used pint jars, I already had them, so I didn't have to buy those. I had some mesh from my dehydrator, and I'll show you a picture of that in a little bit. I did purchase a couple of things, which I'll show you here in just a minute. But that and some water is really all you need. The water I recommend for the first soak is distilled water, because tap water usually will have some chloramides or chlorine or something in it to kill bacteria, which is fine. It's neither here nor there, but when you're trying to soak these, you don't want anything in there that's going to kill the bacteria. Then after that first soak, you're going to rinse them, and rinsing them in tap water is fine because you're not soaking them. You're going to give them a rinse, you're going to pour it out, and you're going to set them to drain. So let me show you. Let's see. Do I have it? I'm going to show you a picture of. No, don't do that first. Let me show you. I just showed you my mason jar. Let me show you. This is an easel. It's a tabletop photo easel that actually I got this at Walmart. The kits that you can buy from the big box store in the sky will run you $20 plus shipping and taxes and everything. And for $20, pardon me while I reach, for $20, you will receive, or a little more than $20, a mason jar, a ring, a screen, and an easel identical to this. Oops, this way. Identical to this. That I bought. I bought this one several years ago to prop a laptop or a tablet, a little tablet computer on, so that I could see it, and I still use it for that. I actually use it for my Kindle more often to prop it up to watch YouTubes or let them run in the background while I'm doing other stuff. But I didn't pay but $3 or $4 for that, and they as a part of that package they want $20 for it. For $20 for two of those, two of the easels, two of the jars, two of the rings, and two of the mesh strainers. Now I got this easel from the big box store that takes over the rest of the world. It had one of these things on it. Actually, the little legs went through the holes. I got this for $1.98. Okay, so there's $1.98. I actually bought two of them, but so there's two for $3.96. I already had the mason jars, so I didn't have any money in those. I didn't have any money in the rings, and I didn't have any money in the strainer or the screen. Now, I did try a different one, a different easel. Not even actually an easel. This is a flexible sink caddy. And I also got 2 of these at the big box stores. This was $3.98. Just, oh, there it is. And you're saying, well, what'd you do with that? Okay, so what I did, and I'll show you a picture of it again here in a little bit. After I rinsed the seeds and the mung beans, I prop the jar up like this so that the water strains out. The rest of the water. I mean, you're going to dump it out anyway, but you don't want it sitting in water. You'll see here in just a minute. So for, this one was the more expensive. So it was $3.98. So it's been $6, $7, almost $8 for this. So for way less than half of what they were asking for on the big box store and the Skies website, I was able to put together the exact same setup. So this is what it looked like. And I say this before I get everything together. I want to share my screen with that. All right. So, pardon me. Oh my gosh, I sound awful. What you have, I have, here's the jar, here's the screen, the distilled water. This is the first evening. I put these together about 6 o'clock in the evening. And I put the distilled water in there just about double the size of what I expected the seeds or beans to be. Actually, the sprouts and the kale are those teeny tiny things, but I put about a quarter cup of water in each of them. And left them sit overnight. These are the snap peas. This is the kale. These are the mung beans. The mung beans did the best of all, and they really taste pretty good too. My snap peas, I think, were a little old because I had gotten them from the extension office a while back for another project, and I still had them. So that's what we've got. So the first night you put your water in, you put your seeds or beans in, and you let them soak overnight. Just on the counter or on your table, not in direct sunlight. None of these, you don't want these in direct sunlight at all at any point. And then so the next day, I drain them. And these are the kale seeds, I believe. These seeds are very, very tiny. So if you're using kale or Brussels sprouts was the other ones I was using. Any of those that are really tiny, this may not be the best way to do it, but try it and see how you like it. But be very careful because they will go through the mesh until they sprout and the mesh catches them. So you want to drain them, and you want to do this twice a day. Drain them and rinse them. Rinse them a couple times, twice a day. And so what you're doing is you're rinsing off anything odd, any little pieces that flake off, like the outer parts of the shells of the seeds and stuff, so that you don't have this stuff decomposing in there with your potential sprouts. Then you're going to do the time frame here is 5 to 7 days. So in 5 to 7 days, if you're going to have sprouts, you should have sprouts. Now, let's see this one. This one is the mung bean after the first 24 hours. So this would have been at 6 o'clock the next evening. And you're already seeing, I mean, just little signs of, and this is the tip of a ballpoint pen. And so mung beans are really tiny anyway. And so you see little teeny tiny little sprouts, the outer part of the seeds busting off, and little seeds are little sprouts are coming out of there. Oh, they're so cute and they're so yummy. And little pieces of them. So they look really kind of freaky when they first get started. But it's so fun to watch, and if you have young kids, you'll really enjoy watching them do this too. So I did keep track. I did keep a chart. Let me see which one is the first one. I got these backwards a little bit ago. Um, I think it's this one. We'll see here in a second. No, this is later, but you'll see. I won't go into it every day, but you'll see. I did just a little paper chart, and I just numbered my days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On day 2, I started counting the rinses because day 1 is the day you soak them overnight, and then day 2 is your first rinse and your second rinse. So I marked off each of the days as I rinsed them and drained them. On day 3 is when I really had good results from the mung bean. Now, see here, this picture was taken on day 5, the morning of day 5, because you see I've got the first rinse marked off, and starting them at 6 o'clock in the evening. The first rinse is 6 o'clock in the morning, which we're up anyway. So, and over here, you see these mung beans. They are just gone crazy, and that's just the morning of day 5. So they had already been sprouting. You can't tell very well from this picture, but the sugar snap peas, those few that were going to sprout, had already started here. And what you don't see is that the Brussels sprouts and the kale did not do well at all in this experiment. And then let me see. Oh, here's a close up of the mung bean. Keep hitting the wrong button. Come on. There we go. See how sweet that looked there, and they're good too. They're really good. This is almost the perfect stage. You see some writing on here. I use Sharpie pens on my mason jars. Sharpie will wipe off in many cases if you give it a good enough little rub with a paper towel. If it doesn't wipe off very good, you can always use a little rubbing alcohol and just wipe it off very clean. So what I have on here is the date that I started the sprouts and what type of beans or seeds they were. But you see the long little tails here, and they're just doing wonderful. And I did snack on them a little bit. They were pretty good, kind of salty. No, not salty, peppery. Spicy is the word I was looking for. So again, they did very well. I did not have good results from the kale or the Brussels sprouts. Those need soil. I tried it because I had them, and you're not. I mean, with a spoonful of seeds, you're not gonna lose a lot. Just giving it a try. So try it. Radish is supposed to do very good, I believe, and well, there's a couple other, but I really wanted to try that, and I was really really pleased overall. Let's see. Oh, I don't think I showed you this yet. I will do that now. This is the screen, the plastic canvas. This is the same kind of canvas you use for cross stitching, and it's really stiff. I got a big package of it because that's all my store had, and it was, I think, $3. But each sheet was really huge, like I don't know, 18 inches or so. So each sheet was about $1, and you could get multiple uh, rounds of these out. This here is the mesh from the dehydrator. the Teflon mesh that you get to put in your dehydrator to keep the really small things from falling through. I already had that. I don't remember what I paid for it. So this was really cut from a scrap of that fabric. And so you take a flat lid from a mason jar and you trace it with a magic marker and you cut on the inside of that line. So if the inside edge of that was right through here, and that keeps it. If you try to cut it on the outside of the line, it's going to be too big for the ring to set down over. And if you just have to carefully cut it on the inside so that it fits on the lip of the jar and the ring can go over top and hold it in place. Now, if you're using a coffee filter and a rubber band, then it doesn't matter because you don't have to cut that down at all. So let's see. Was there anything else I needed to share with you about this? Oh yeah, I poured them out, and like I said, the kale and the Brussels sprouts didn't do well at all. The mung bean did very well. I mean, very well. The peas probably would have done better if they were fresher. So here's the sugar snap peas that I used. You can see there's a lot of them that did not sprout at all. This is at the end of, well, I don't have it marked off because this was the end of day 7. I didn't rinse them again because I was done. I wasn't going to keep them over an extra day. But these are the sugar snap peas. If I'd had more, I think they would have done a lot better. And this is the mung bean. Look at that. It's so good. That was just from a couple tablespoons of mung bean seeds, or mung beans. They're not seeds, they're beans, that I had in my cabinet already from where I had cooked them. And I've tried this with lentils. I got mixed results with lentils, kind of like I did with the snap peas there. But you can always try them. Some of my dried beans are old, probably and past the prime for germinating. That doesn't mean they're past their prime for eating. They're just not going to germinate. So, and this is a lid to a Rubbermaid container that I had that I kept under them to catch the drips of any water that was dripping out of the jars as they were tipped up, and they stayed tipped up like I showed you earlier the entire time. So the only time they weren't is when I carried them to the sink and rinsed them off and dumped them out. I carried them back over and put them on the easels and kept them that way. So yeah, these were really good. I put some on a barbecue sandwich. I sure did. So it was really good. It was a really good experiment. I did learn a couple of things from them, and one is that you don't have to have all this outrageously expensive equipment that these people try to get you to go to their Amazon links. Oops, I didn't mean to say Amazon. Try to get you to go to their links and click through so that they get a little money from it. I didn't have an affiliate with them. I mean, maybe one of these days I will, but I don't. So, it's not about the cash. So this is, let me show you. These are the mesh from the cross stitch fabric, and I think I mentioned, but I'll mention it again. These are fine to use when you're doing sprouts because you're not heating this stuff up. This is not food grade anything. I mean, it's plastic. It's made for cross stitching decorations on. You don't want this in your food. You don't want this on anything that's going to be hot. You don't want this to touch any food that's going to be hot because that's not what it's made for. But to use as a drain and a cap for bean sprouts, it's fine because it's not hot enough. It's not going to transfer any contaminants to you. And if it gets a little green with algae, you can just scrub it up. This is again the Teflon mesh that goes in the dehydrator. It is food grade. It is food safe because you put food in it in a dehydrator, and dehydrators get warm. So yeah, they're fine. they catch the smaller seed or smaller bean, but either or are fine. And of course, paper towels you could use, but I would imagine they would disintegrate after a couple times, or unless you'd have to put a new paper towel on every time. And coffee filters should be just perfect. Should be just perfect. Don't let them go too long. You want to rotate the jars after you rinse them, and before you prop them up, you want to rotate them like this to kind of distribute the seeds. You don't want them in a big clump. You don't want them clumped up at the top or the bottom, because that can cause mold, which is another reason you want to rinse them. And if you get moldy, then you're going to get some of those little gnats, those little sour gnats, as we always call them. But I'm coming up on 30 minutes, and I didn't really want to go this long, but I'm long-winded that way, and I do those things. But I hope you have learned a little something, that you'll give it a try. I'd love to have your comments on whether you did try it or not, and how well it worked for you, whether you were able to find all of the things, that I mentioned, whether it be at the big one box blue store that is invading all the communities, or if you had to order it, or if you found something different that worked just as fine. If you were able to use jars you had on hand, like maybe peanut butter jars instead of mason jars, and how well it worked, and what kind of foods you sprouted. I'd love to know. I hate to ask for you to do the thumbs up and excuse me, follows and likes and rumbles and boosts and all of those things that people do to show their appreciation and their approval of certain things. But if we're going to make it in this, we got to have it. And please share it with your friends. You got to get the word out somewhere, and it's usually word of mouth is usually a little better. So if you like something, some of your friends are more likely to like it as well. So let me put this. Oh, can I put this sticker on real quick? Ticker. There's that says visit robinholstein.com, Holstein House Bed and Breakfast. I'm going to have my other website up soon, I hope, just strictly holsteinhouse.com. I already have the domain. I just haven't built a page for it. robinholstein.com is my personal page. Let's see. Boogers. Oh, here's one. Here, let me turn that off. And let me do this one. It'll get better. It'll get better. So thank you again. I'll stop here, and we'll exit stage left, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.